adding fractions involving whole numbers and unlike denominators. So let's first take a look and rewrite these fractions. So if you notice here, we want to find the least common denominator between 3 and 8. So the first thing we want to do is find the LCD between 3 and 8. Well, if you notice, 3 doesn't have anything in common with 8. So 3 times 8 is going to give us 24. So therefore, the LCD is going to be 24. Now for step 2, we're going to rewrite our mixed number fractions. So we have 1 1/3 plus 2 3/8. Now for this example, we're going to show two ways. One way is we can leave them as mixed numbers. Another way, we will convert them into an improper fraction. So let's take a look at this. So we have 1, and our new denominator is going to be 24 plus 2, and again the new denominator is going to be 24. And then we're going to ask ourselves, 3 times or 24 divided by 3 is 8, so 3 times 8 is going to give us 24. So then we're going to take 1, multiply by that by 8, and therefore we have 1 and 8 over 24. Plus, now we need to find out 24 divided by 8 is 3, so 8 times 3 is 24. And then 3 times 3 is going to give us 9. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add the two whole numbers. So 1 plus 2 is going to give us 3. We have a common denominator of 24. And then 8 plus 9 is going to be 17. Now, can we reduce this in any other way? The answer is no, so therefore there is our result. Okay. Now, how would we do this if we wanted to convert these into improper fractions? So we know the common denominator is already 24. So in step number 2, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite in step number 2 the same fraction. So we have 1 1/3 plus 2 and then 3/8. Now we're going to convert them into an improper fraction. So remember, this is times and this is plus. So 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 is going to give us 4/3. Plus 8 times 2 is 16. Plus 3 is going to give us 19 over 8. Okay, now that we know that our common denominator is 24, okay, we need to ask ourselves, 24 divided by 3 is 8, so 3 times 8 is 24. We're going to multiply 4 times 8, which then gives us 32. Okay, next what we want to do is we have 24 divided by 8. And so 24 divided by 8 is 3. So 8 times 3 is going to give us 24. And 19 times 3 is going to give us 57. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to add 32 with 57 over the common denominator of 24. So 32 plus 57 gives us 89. And so now what we want to do is we want to convert this into a mixed number. So we would take 24 and divide that into 89. And so 24 goes into 89 3 times. And 24 times 3 is going to give us 72. And so when we subtract, we get a remainder of 17. And so therefore, the quotient is 3, the remainder is 17 over 24. Now as you can see here, the first method is a lot shorter. The second method is a lot longer. But sometimes the second method might be needed when you're dealing with subtraction. So sometimes you may need to use the one on the left, sometimes you may need to use the one on the right. Okay, now let's take a look at the next example. So we have 5 1/2 plus 3 3/10. So we need to find the LCD between 2 and 10. So we know that the common denominator, 2, is a factor of 10. So the common denominator is 10. Let's go ahead and rewrite these fractions. We have 5 1/2 plus 3 3/10. Okay, so let's go ahead and convert these into a common denominator of 10. So we know that we have 5 as a whole number, and the denominator is 10. We have 3 with a common denominator of 10. So 10 divided by 2 is 5, so 2 times 5 is 10. And so 1 times 5 is going to give us 5. Next, we have 10 divided by 10 is 1, so 10 times 1 is going to give us 10. And then 3 times 1 is going to give us 3. So now let's go ahead and combine. So we're going to take 5 and add 3, which gives us 8. And then in the numerator, 5 plus 3 is going to be 8 over 10. Now recall, we cannot leave this unless it's a simplified reduced fraction. So the 8/10 needs to be simplified. So recall that the prime factorization for 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. The prime factorization of 10 is 2 times 5. So as you can see here, the 2's can be simplified to 1, and then what's left is the following: 8 4/5. Okay, now if we did it the other way, when we convert them into improper fractions, remember that we have 5 1/2 plus 3 3/10. So let's convert them to improper fractions. So 2 times 5 is 10 plus 1 is now 11 over 2. 10 times 3 is 30 plus 3 is 33 over 10. And we know that the common denominator is 10. So we know that 2 times 5 is going to give us 10. So therefore we have to do the same thing to the numerator. So 11 times 5 is 55. And then 10 times 1 is going to give us 10. So 33 times 1 is going to give us 33. Okay, so now that we know that the common denominator is 10, we know that 55 plus 33 is going to give us 88. So now we need to convert this into a mixed number. So 10 is going to go into 88 how many times? We know that 10 goes into 88 8 times. So 8 times 10 is 80. When we subtract, we get 8. So we have a quotient of 8 with the remainder of 8 over 10. And if you saw in the previous step, we would see that this becomes 8 4/5.